Good morning, Bucknutters. It is Thursday, August 1st, 2024. I am Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5 and Change. Very thrilled that you have joined us today. Big day for your Buckeyes. Camp starts today. Our staffers are there with bells on. If you are not a premium member of Bucknuts, you are not doing this right. The season is getting started. You're going to want all of the inside coverage. You're going to want all of the coverage available. Go to the site right now. We have a tremendous deal going. 60% off a yearly membership. 60% off. That's more than half the year free. Go do that right now. We need you to subscribe. We also need you to listen to this. Sizzle alert. This summer, let the only thing smoking at your barbecue be the grill, not your grooming game. Get ready for the ultimate cookout season with Manscaped. Whether you're flipping burgers or cannonballing into the pool, make sure you look neat with the Performance Package 5.0 Ultra. Fire up your grooming routine and keep it cool with Manscaped. Head to manscaped.com and use code BUCKNUTS for 20% off and free shipping. Let's make this summer sizzle for all the right reasons. Get camp ready. Get 20% off and free shipping, like I said, with the code BUCKNUTS at manscaped.com. That's 20% off, free shipping. Manscaped, the perfect way to get your patties sizzling hot this summer. Sizzling hot also applies to these two guys, Bill Kurelic and Mark Porter. Gentlemen, appreciate you stopping by on a Thursday. We are going to talk plenty of recruiting here today, but we are here because we are Bucknuts, and we also cover the football team. A lot of good stuff going on today. Camp getting rolling. Bill, who is the guy you want to see most? We've all waited. Today you're going to get to see everybody on the field. The official look test is today. Who are you geeked to see?
Well, I say it all the time, and I think most people believe it. Quarterback is the most important position on the field. So while I'm very intrigued with, say, Quinshon Judkins, I think I'm really looking forward to seeing him. Really looking forward to seeing Caleb Downs actually do his thing at the back end of this defense. Looking forward a lot to Jeremiah Smith. You know, how do you live up to the hype? I think he can, believe it or not. But still, to me, it's quarterback. You know, is Will Howard the guy that we all hope and think he might be? I think he is, would be my inclination right now. And staying on that theme, the other guy that I really am looking forward to seeing, and I don't know that we're going to see a lot of him necessarily in a big role early, but Julian Sayin. Can he somehow, I don't think he's going to win the starting job, but can he be good enough to be the backup? And as we always say, you're one play away from being the guy if you're the backup. So I got to go with the top of the list, Will Howard and Julian Sayin.
Quarterback will be fun to watch regardless, just because you got 5 dudes in there that can really, really play. I can't remember them having this many quarterbacks, Bill. And you can refresh my memory. Can you remember them ever having 5 guys who are, you know, if any of these guys hit the open market, they'd be big-time commodities. Can you remember them having 5? I know usually we like to have 3, but do you remember 5?
Well, pre-transfer portal, very, very common. Oh, you had 4 quarterbacks, 4 scholarship quarterbacks on the roster, sometimes 5, but usually 4. That was the goal for Ohio State and just about all teams. Get a quarterback in every class and make sure you've got 4 scholarship quarterbacks on the roster. Pre-transfer portal, they're not most, you're going to be able to keep them through at least one season, and somebody leaves, you go and get the next guy. I can't write on. I know one of our Bucknuts people out there will jog my memory and come up with probably 5 scholarship quarterbacks on the roster, but I don't really remember that right offhand. And to think that Ohio State has done it in this transfer portal era, that's pretty incredible. And like you said, Dan, every one of them is legit.
Exactly.
Guy that Ohio State took. Ohio State doesn't take quarterbacks that are just takes, so to speak. They don't need to. So it's really kind of incredible what the staff, Ryan Day, has been able to keep, for the time being, at least 5 scholarship quarterbacks that are all legitimate on this roster.
It's probably not realistic to expect all of them to star at Ohio State, just given the crowd factor. But I think all 5 of these guys at some point in time will be very good college quarterbacks. So it's not like even in the past where maybe we had a transfer from another school and we said, hey, Justin Fields never run the ball, or Gunnar Hoke's going to be the quarterback. It's not like that. There's no chugging-offs, and there's no guys wearing helmets in the front row for that one diagram we all love. Mark, you know these youngsters, especially the Ohio ones and the guys you scattered as well as anybody. Who do you want to see get going for the Buckeyes?
I hate it when someone steals one of your guys and takes your thunder away, but I got a bunch. I really – you nailed it. I like the young guys, and we know who the starters are. I'm waiting to see, will Bryce West or Aaron Scott be on the field, and which one goes first? You know, I always had trouble picking between them. Let's see who they pick or who has the best camp. Caleb Downs is just a no-brainer for the fun factor. To watch him come up and destroy people, I can't wait for the first time he does that. It'll feel like he's finally arrived and the hype is there. Julian Sayin is one, and I want to see who the number 2 quarterback. Is it going to be Sayin, or are they going to keep Devin Brown in the mix? You know, they're going to use his feet a little bit. Will it be packages? Remember, in this day and age of recruiting, you're recruiting your own roster, and if you don't show them you have a plan for them, or they're not in the fold, like you said, it's hard to keep 5 quarterbacks like this under the fold. Who are they going to put their arms around and give the backup reps to, or give packages and rotations, especially earlier in the year when you can do that? The linebacker group, CJ Hicks. Let's see if he's really going to be the real deal. Will he be the kid we saw coming out of high school? I know Bill and I loved them. And in that same class, Gabe Powers and Sonny Styles. Like, I want to see the Sonny Styles transition. I coming out of high school, I was one that thought he was a linebacker. I just thought he was too big to be in the secondary. Not that he didn't have speed and athletic ability, but he was so big that this might be more natural for him down closer to the line of scrimmage. And Arvell Reese at linebacker, the Glenville product. Let's see how he looks now. He's had a year to mature and get in there. I've heard some good things. So will he pop up in some rotations? Luke Montgomery on the offensive line. Will he be one of the guys? He got so much bigger and he looks so good walking around camps. You're kind of rooting for him. I'm kind of rooting for on defense the JT Tumaloa and Jack Sawyer combo to see if that really makes the defense better, having 2 bookends that are that solid. I've seen a couple of defenses in the past, and I've mentioned the Youngstown State defense. They had 2 NFL defensive ends the year they made their run to the championship, and it entirely changed the complexion of the rest of the defense, squeezing down that tackle-to-tackle area. You really had to be good to run inside on those types. At tight end, we know Scott's going to be the starter, but, will the transfer from OU be a big blocking factor? Will Kazmarek, I believe, and will Jelani Thurman?
Good job, Mark.
Will he show up, Jelani Thurman, with this athletic ability? So who's going to be the 2, and how do we use them after Scott? And, Scott had a role last year where he was more of an H. Will one of these other guys be the true Y, the inline guy? But a lot of storylines I like to follow, and, more backup stuff. I'm kind of peeking into the future, and the curiosity maybe for me and Bill sometimes is, were we right about that kid coming out of high school, or was our inclination on the right path, or was I totally wrong? And that happens a lot too, where you watch a player and he never pans out, and you got to go back and say, was I over my skis on that one? And, or was just the competition too good?
Dan, Mark mentioned, were we right? And the curiosity factor, were we over our skis? One guy that I'm going to be interested in watching too, that, maybe I'll be wrong about this, but there was some criticism that Ohio State brought in Seth McLaughlin from Alabama to play center. the snapping problems and all that, I really think he's going to be a good center for Ohio State. I might be out over my skis here, but I think they're going to get that taken care of, and that he's going to be, the guy started at center for Alabama, for Pete's sake. I think he's going to be really good. And actually, I might be out over my skis a little bit. I think that offensive line is going to be pretty good. I think Josh Simmons this year will be pretty strong, and Josh Fryer, I think that's a pretty decent tackle combination. And Donovan Jackson, I think he's going to have a big year. Who's going to be the other guard? I kind of think maybe Luke Montgomery, but we'll see. But I think if McLaughlin is good as I think he's going to be, I think that offensive line is going to be a pretty good offensive line this year.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because I think you'd be hard pressed to look at the lineup right now and say to yourself where they are worse than last year. You know what I'm saying? So I really think they've done a good job of kind of, plugging holes in the first world sense there. I think you make a great point, Bill. I want to see some of those dudes. And Seth McLaughlin, not only did he come from Alabama, he went to Buford High School. This is not a guy who's not used to playing football. I really think we are, in sports in general, more victim to the recency effect than we have been in the past. And the last thing everyone saw was McLaughlin struggling with his snap, so people wigged out about that. I am very confident that he's going to get that worked out. And like you said, the offensive line really may be the bellwether for the squad in terms of if we come out of this year saying the offensive line had a great year, man, I'd be real surprised if they didn't achieve all of their goals. I think the guy I want to see the most really is Caleb Downs. As much as you talk about him and we kind of, genuflect at what he did, the idea of getting the best freshman defensive player in the country to join your team for literally just because his coach left is a boon in any transfer setup. And I really think the secondary, boy, they are. I think Dave Biddle has said this. The secondary may be as talented as it has ever been. If Davis and Igbenogson can take another step, Jordan Hancock was I'm a big Jordan Hancock fan. I think some guys just have a nose for the ball finds him. And then you talk about the safeties. Lathan Ransom's back, Caleb Downs, not to mention the depth and the youth. So kind of staggering, and we are excited. Another thing that you can bet will be chronicled today: who gets like you guys mentioned, the order in which the quarterbacks take snaps. We love to make a big deal out of small things at practice, and also I will say this: let's not go completely off the deep end today when you see someone do something. It's kind of like, and I'm as guilty as anybody as seeing a clip of somebody and declaring them, directly suited for Canton Yellow Jacket. But it's just one day. And also, when the coaches know the media and fans will be at the practice, like I said on a Monday show with Dave, I don't think you're gonna see Chip Kelly's entire playbook today. Okay, I don't think we're gonna go that deep on it, so that everyone else can. I will not make a Connor Stallions joke here, but I think you understand where I'm going with this. All right, I'm going to read our second ad, and then we're just going to crush some recruiting and hit all your questions. Get this out of the way. All right, back with Manscaped, and they have been a great sponsor for us, great charitable organization as well, and they just have a lot for you. I'm sending my kid back to school here soon. I'm sending two of them, actually, back to college, and they need to be groomed. I want to tell you again about our friends at Manscaped and a great deal you can get. They have a lot of great products. Three of my favorites are the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra, the Weed Whacker 2.0 ear and nose hair trimmer, and the Handyman. First of all, the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra, perfect for achieving that crisp, clean, and confident look for your barbecues and beach days. Then you have the Weed Whacker 2.0 ear and nose hair trimmer, keeps your ears and nose as tidy as need be, pesky hair be gone. Perfect for impressing guests at your summer cookout. And then the Handyman is an outstanding facial trimmer that you can take on the road, use at home, whatever. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code BUCKNUTS at manscaped.com. That's 20% off free shipping, manscaped.com, and use code BUCKNUTS. Manscaped, the perfect way to get your patties sizzling this summer. All right, William. We talked a little bit before the show. Just to tease you guys, we are going to finish the show for you true Bucknutters with some video we're working on for David Sanders. We're actually going to show you how good he is today on defense, just to tease you, because we've got a big offense breakdown coming, but that's premium. So, Bill, start with David Sanders and then kind of bring us up to speed on, there's really not that many guys left in the mix. I'm not sure there's a guy left in the mix that they are a lock to get. In fact, I would venture a guess to say there isn't one. Can you bring us completely up to speed on the stretch run here?
Yeah, I think I've got 10 to 12, 13 maybe guys kind of on my radar screen. Now, a number of those guys, I don't think they're, I'm pretty sure they're not going to Ohio State, but they're still on the radar screen at least. You watch what's going to happen. For instance, Trey McNutt, you watch what he's going to do. He's announcing on Saturday. I certainly don't expect him to announce for Ohio State, but I want to see. He visited Texas A&M. He visited Oregon at the end. That's the two schools in the bidding war to me. I think Oregon's going to win it, but you got to keep them on your radar screen. A couple other guys that people may not think about as being on my necessarily radar screen for 2025. How about Chris Henry Jr.? It's at least been broached. Maybe he could reclassify. And again, I'm not saying that's going to happen or predict anything else. But, who could blame Chris Henry for doing that necessarily? I mean, he's super talented. And then Jakeem Stewart, could he reclassify? There's, the old saying, where there's smoke, there's fire. So we'll see. So for now, they are still on my radar screen for 2025 even. But David Sanders is the big guy. I think, like I have long thought, I've been saying he visited Nebraska, but I still think it's Ohio State or Tennessee. And I don't think anybody knows for sure. I don't know that David Sanders and his family know for sure. NIL is very important there, but I don't think it's absolutely the bottom line there. But it is very important there. And we'll see what happens over the next two. We still got 2.5 weeks till he announces. Wide receiver recruiting. Ohio State still wants another wide receiver in the class. The names are Phillip Bell, Preston Bowman, and Jerome Miles. One of them has an announcement date already. Phillip Bell, he told me earlier this week he is going to announce at a yacht party.
Hello.
Ohio State guys announce at yacht parties. Not too many. But he likes Ohio State a lot. USC. He told me, by the way, that the stuff about Washington, you can kind of pretty much put that to rest for the most part. It's Ohio State or USC. Bowman, so he's staying with Kentucky for now, but wouldn't be surprised if he makes an official visit to Ohio State. And Jerome Miles tells me he's going to make an official visit to Ohio State. David Sanders is not the only offensive lineman out there. Josh Petty's still out there, though I think that's going to be most likely Florida State over Georgia Tech, Ohio State. Javon McFadden, he's certainly still out there. So, there's some names out there still to be aware of.
All right. Good stuff. And listen, we are on the David Sanders yacht party trip too. If he wants to do it on a yacht, if he wants to do it on a jet, if he wants to do it on a mountain, it's like a Dr. Seuss book. We'll go wherever, man, for that dude. And like I said, those of you who will tune in, who are going to stick with the show till the end, will get a chance to see some great video. I want to post a comment here from.
While you're looking for that, Dan, I didn't mention running backs either.
Okay. Go ahead.
They want another running back still too, so that's another position to keep in mind.
Yeah, that's a different one. I've gone over the recruiting. We'll get into that as we go here, but Erica Cara makes a interesting point. Erica Cara, the mother of the Armstrong twins. I want to talk about Justin Fry a little bit here because I find something kind of interesting. Deontay has gone from 278 to 315. Devontae, 298 to 322. Good gracious. 637 pounds to feed. That's a lot. Some of you have a whole family that doesn't work that big. I know mine isn't. The O-line is going to be ready. They're all working hard and focused. We love Coach Fry. It's funny. I think ultimately Coach Fry's presence at Ohio State, I think the Sanders decision is going to be big, but there are a lot of eggs in the Armstrong basket. If those two guys materialize into what we think and hope they will be, and Fry is going to get credit for that, that would be tremendous. Here's what I find interesting, and both of you can comment on this. It seems as if Justin Fry, according to our fans, if Ohio State gets David Sanders, people want to thank Paris Johnson's mom and Deidre Sanchez. And if they don't get him, they want to fire Justin Fry. So how does Justin Fry win this, Bill? It seems like, and Mark, you can take this. It seems like he's in a real tough spot now where if he doesn't get Sanders, he's going to get blamed. And if Ohio State gets him, someone else is going to get the credit. To be the offensive line coach at Ohio State, Mark.
Yeah, first, let me confirm what Erica Cara is saying about the Armstrong twins. I saw that up close and personal. They came over and talked to me and my son. I've mentioned this on the podcast before. My son is now a big fan of the Armstrong twins. They detailed their diet. It was like 6,000 to 9,000 calories a day. My son still can't figure out how you can get that much food in your body in one day. But they really look the part. And it did, like Bill and I said, we saw Luke Montgomery do this. Once you get into that Ohio State weight program, it's a different world of eating and do nutrition and getting your body right. And these offensive linemen are usually the guys that make the biggest strides. In regards to Coach Fry, because it's the off season, we have nothing else to talk about. He comes up every now and then, but if I know anything about the season, these fortunes flip on a dime. You start off 4-0 and 5-0, and these running backs are running up and down the field, and they both have 100-yard games. There'll be momentum in his favor. This place is highly critical, and it's largely because we're not national champions, and the school up north is. And those things sting, and we're always looking to I always joke with you guys when we do the Buckeye in the Sky after each game, we're always looking for someone's head to cut off and hang on the front gate and say, this is the guy that screwed it up this week, or the guy that's, holding us back from being number one. And it's, that type of environment with fans sometimes we kind of got to get past that, scapegoat and find a guy. But when you sign up at Ohio State, and every coach knows this, you could be the victim of this type of criticism and overanalysis. And, yeah, it could come down to you landing at David Sanders or certain recruits to make fans and other people happy. Are guys blocking the wrong people, on game days? I don't think those problems are occurring with, a coach. I think this is more of a recruiting thing. And Brandon Baker last year was much like David Sanders, and everybody wanted him. And when you don't get him, you blame somebody. So, let's see how this season goes before we, have a verdict on where this is going. And, this David Sanders thing is definitely going to be huge next week, or the 17th or 18th, I think, Bill.
Yeah.
August 17th.
Yeah. We'll get to that. Let me clarify something here because somehow this did not get interpreted correctly by Christopher Sowers. Well, it's clearly on the O-line coach if he doesn't land Sanders Jr. It's not on an NFL player's mother. That's not what I said. What I said was if Fry gets Sanders, he's not going to get the credit, and if he doesn't, he's going to get the blame. I in no way said that it is Paris Johnson's mom's responsibility to recruit for Ohio State. That's hearing what you want to hear there, bro. Relax. Everyone's getting a little tweaked about the David Sanders thing here. Let's relax. So, Mark, it is Bill. It is August the 17th, and we will be all over it. Let's now get to
Yeah, one thing, Ed, turnabout is fair play. I stole Mark's thunder getting to answer the last question first. And it's amazing, kind of scary, actually, how much Mark and I think alike. Probably pretty scary, actually. I was going to say the same thing that having seen, thanking Erica for bringing that up, and having seen last month, actually in June now, little over last month, having seen the Armstrong twins in person, my goodness gracious, they looked fantastic this summer. And that's a good point. And Mark mentioned that, we'll see who was right. Michigan went and took Ohio guys that they liked. Justin Fry took the guys he liked. Mark and I really liked the Armstrong twins. I think we're both on that boat with Justin Fry, at least to some extent. Now we'll see over the next couple of years who was right on those guys that Ohio State took versus the ones Michigan took.
Got a hard head, Chris. I agree with all that, Bill, and that's going to be interesting. And we need them. If you go left to right here, Josh Simmons, I think, is going off to the league. Donovan Jackson's going off to the league. Seth McLaughlin going off to the league. Right guard, we don't know. Right tackle, Josh Fryer could be off to the league. You're going to have to replace 4 dudes on the offensive line, possibly. And 2 of them could have the last name Armstrong. That would be excellent. All right, let's see some more questions up here. Yada, yada. Let's see. I saw a couple really interesting ones. I know brass tacks speaks for all of us.
And I'll say one more thing about this recruiting in this day and age. Coach Fry's been here in the last 2 years, and it's been the age of NIL. And when you're saying you're recruiting a player, does he like Coach Fry's personality? And that's usually what sways a kid. I love that guy. We get along, and that was recruiting. How many times in the last couple of years have we said what has changed recruiting in the past 2 years? The bag, the money. And that's not on a coach or his personality. Coach Fry could be the greatest guy on earth and, love these guys up, call them every night, talk about video games, know all their girlfriends. I mean, really be the best recruiter in the world. And I don't think it's fair to say that he's doing a bad job because someone else gave the kid X amount of money and Ohio State, didn't play that game. Because remember, early on, we were paying the guys on the roster, not trying to go after the high school guys, and some guys were paying big money for high school guys. So some of this recruiting thing isn't necessarily, him not being able to buddy up with kids and recruit them. I think at the end of the day, some of these higher profile kids, Brandon Bakers or whoever, it came down to money, not how much they love it. Now, we hope to think that, the development at Ohio State and all those things would break all the tiebreakers. And maybe if someone even offered a little bit more money, you would still go to Ohio State for those things. You know how you get the hometown deal sometimes in the NFL. I'd rather just stay here than go somewhere else for a little more, or the quarterbacks that'll take a pay cut. You hope there's a little bit of that mentality with Ohio State, that they win some of those with, this new age of money and recruiting.
And things change. I'll give you some examples of USC, for instance, was pretty well known out in the circles that they were using their money more for transfer guys. They weren't putting out a lot of big money for high school guys as compared to what they were putting out for transfer portal guys. And I'm tending to see that change a little bit. They're kind of realizing, maybe we need to do a little more with the high school kids as far as putting out NIL money. Ohio State has changed some. They're not stacking 5-star wide receivers on top of 5-star wide receivers every year now. Money-wise, they're not giving those deals every year, stacking those guys, because those guys all think they're going to come in and play, and they don't, and they look to leave then. They've gone this year. They didn't put out the money to the wide receivers. They went and got a couple developmental guys too. I really expect them to go big next year or two again on wide receiver money. So those things do change from year to year, and you change your philosophy. Ohio State does a great job of making changes that are help. This year, they put out a ton of money to keep guys here. They kept beyond what people could expect guys here.
Right.
And I saw an article recently with the top, who paid the most money for their current roster. Guess who was number one? Ohio State. They have $20 million invested in their current roster, which is number one in the country. So they used a lot of money to keep this roster here and to get guys to come back. Now they got to get it done on the field.
And I don't know what the rules are going to be going forward with NIL and stuff, but this is uncharted waters. We're in the beginning of the idea of getting to pay all these guys, and that's going to come up with the class of 2026. I see some questions up there. I was looking at this last night, kind of piggyback on what we talked about earlier. When you go to recruit quarterbacks, who's going to want to come play quarterback at Ohio State when you got 5 studs in there now? And then the number one quarterback in the country, in my opinion, coming right after that. So you're telling me a guy who's good enough to play quarterback at Ohio State, and we've talked about what football dads are like, basketball dads. Do you think he's going to want his kid to go sit on the bench for 2 years? Think about that for a second. We just went through a situation with a guy who was starting and his family wasn't even happy. So, man, I don't see that as being – you're going to have to really slot your recruiting in a lot of ways. And in receiver, look, man, people have the internet. They know Jeremiah Smith and Chris Henry are supposed to come here. Do you think anybody realistically looks at those 2 guys as a receiver and is like, you know what? I'm going to go beat that guy out. I'm going to get less money and get more catches. Absolutely not. So there's going to be a new vibe to all this in terms of who comes when and stuff. Like, we should be just thankful. Like the Quinshon Judkins and the Caleb Downs, those fall from the sky. And that's another important point, I think. There should be no panic with recruiting now, just because worst case scenario, we can go in the portal. Ohio State's proven that. If you make a mistake or a guy leaves or like your plan gets interrupted, you just drop a high price recruit transfer in there and you'll be in good shape.
And I can tell you a school out there, a big time school that has had big time quarterbacks, that their philosophy has been, we're going to pay up and go get a big time quarterback every other year. Then we'll always have one on the roster. If they get a big time quarterback this year, next year they're going to get a lower rated, maybe developmental type quarterback, and they alternate it every year. And that's at a big time school that has had some really good quarterbacks. So a lot of different philosophies out there.
Look, a lot of different philosophies. When you pay the most and you've had the offseason they've had, if you want to feel good about the team, watch the coverage from today. Also, go take a peek at last year's roster and go player for player on this year's roster among the starters. It's a better team. It just is. I mean, they're just more talented. So will they be going forward? Who knows? All right, I'm going to knock out some of these quick questions here as I've been waxing poetic. Let's see here. All right.
Let's get this David Sanders video rolling.
I saw it. I got it. Bill, Javon McFadden, you mentioned him briefly.
Yeah, nothing really new on him. You know, they're starting their season now as far as practice and all that. Hasn't committed, obviously, to anyone. I still think Ohio State is one of his top schools, but he's just not been real engaged in the recruiting process. Right now, a lot of kids, they're not worried about recruiting because pretty much everybody is just starting their season right now.
I also imagine guys who haven't, the kind of borderline elite guys who maybe haven't gotten that 1 or 2 schools they want are going to try and put a few games on tape, send that out, and get that second wave of interest because that's coming. You become very desirable when the market tightens up here and you go out and kick butt. And keep in mind, these are kids. They're going to be guys coming back for their senior year that are heavier, faster, better. And Ohio State's always been great.
And also the dead period starts today too. So the visits are done. The dead period lasts until the football season starts now. So it's really a heavy concentration on the football season for everybody, the colleges, high state, and for the high school kids too. I just think last night, or in my chat yesterday, I was asked, it made me realize how close this is. I was asked, do you have your schedule yet of which games you're going to be going to this season? And my answer was not yet, but that's not far off. We got just a few weeks till games start in the state of Ohio, and Mark and I are going to be going to games every weekend.
Yeah. Mark will see the freshman, Deshaun Brown, I'm sorry.
Keyshawn.
Mark? Yeah. We'll see him. We haven't seen him yet. He's a freshman. Let's let him take some snaps.
That's probably a question. Is I didn't run into him at a camp, and St. Ignatius's showcase was on the same day as a couple other schools like St. Ed's, and so I was running around. I did not see their showcase, so he's high on my list to see.
Okay, let's do this now, Mark. All right, David Sanders. Is he the best football player of all time? I'm just kidding. Just by, and this is no fault of his own. He just happens. Look, he is that good. I believe, Bill, that he's the third-ranked player in the class, top offensive lineman. But if you look at the class of 2025, 247 Sports updated 2026 yesterday. If you want to go check that out, that's pretty cool. But if you look at 2025, by the way, it's fun to look at because there's a lot of Ohio State little logos there as you go through the top 20 players. He just stands out because he's really probably the most high-profile big fella that hasn't committed anywhere yet. And so there's so many eggs in that basket for several teams. He's an offensive lineman. Believe it or not, our guy also plays defense. Mark, take it away. And we'll have a Buckeye in the Sky on David Sanders coming sooner than later.
Yeah, we've watched David Sanders' film on Huddle 5 or 6 times. So when we're going to do the breakdown of him, we got to go in a different direction. We got to dig a little deeper. We got to find something that hasn't been seen by everybody. And when I was doing the breakdown, I ran into some defensive clips. And I'm pretty sure Larry Johnson left the room to go to the bathroom. And Coach Fry said, hey, I'm going to play a tape real quick for you guys, but don't pay attention to the defensive stuff. Let's just watch him on offense. Dan said it. Is this the best player ever? Well, watch some of these clips on defense. And I'm of the opinion that if he wanted to play defensive end, he could be an NFL defensive end. Okay, like he's that good. He's that athletic. He's going by kids and has the size and speed just to absolutely destroy everything in his sight. He's playing stand-up outside linebacker. You understand that, right?
Yes, yeah.
And he's chasing down people from behind. Okay, this is like Justin Hill at 280 pounds. He's splitting double teams and throwing them. Yeah. It's like both guys just went to the side as he went through.
The guy on the ground was his left hand.
Yeah.
He one-handed that guy to the ground.
If we weren't talking about him as the best offensive player, he's the best defensive player. This is truly impressive. This is a rare, freakish athlete. This is, a werewolf, an alien, all these, funny names we give the kids that just aren't from this earth. God gave this kid a little extra, and we'll just see where this ends up in a few years.
Lord.
Oh, my, yeah. It's like, how do you not – I know he's going to play offensive tackle. He'll probably be a first-round draft pick as an offensive tackle, and we're getting into offensive stuff now. But, we'll save this for the premium members. But, oh, my gosh, guys. I mean, truly just an impressive athlete. Put him on a basketball court. Put this kid anywhere, and I'm pretty confident that he's going to be good.
So I think we did a good job today of tamping down the David Sanders hype. No one should be excited at all, and we're just playing it right down the middle here.
Could he be the first two-way player at Ohio State? Maybe. We don't know.
You mean a two-way line player?
Can you imagine
Don't forget Chris Gamble.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
If David Sanders wants to play in the slot or covered corner, I'm giving him a shot. Okay, Chris Gamble? We'll see if he can do it. All right. That was tremendous. If you ever need to get geeked up, just go look at the top 25 recruits we got and then wash that down with a little David Sanders video. You're going to take a walk around the park. We appreciate these guys stopping by. Big day today. Camp getting going. As of right now, we've got guys probably putting up practice reports. There will be video. We are really getting rolling here. Like Bill said, recruiting is going to take a little bit of a backseat here, and we are shifted to football season, which is the real reason we are all here. So appreciate my guys being here. We'll be back on Tuesday. A lot of stuff going on. Make sure if you are not a premium member, you are doing it now. 60% off for the year. That means you basically get through the entire season without paying a penny. That's a good deal. And you get more of these guys. So have a good one, and we appreciate it. Go Bucks.